going on, everybody? Welcome back to TCG Madness. My name is Phil, and today I am bringing you guys another deck build for Altered TCG. If you guys have been keeping up, we've pretty much been going through each factions. Now we've run through Axiom, Bravos, Muna. Now we're going to take a look at the Yasmir heroes. Now, real quick, if you're a fan of Magic the Gathering and you like playing black, basically, which does a lot of shenanigans with graveyard hate, reanimating spells, stuff like that, then Yasmir is definitely going to be the color for you. And this deck is no different. This deck is literally all about sacrificing your characters to make something else on the board a lot bigger. And this is the Big Maw deck build that I have for you, and that's pretty much what it's going to be. We're going to be sacrificing characters, making Maw a lot bigger. I'm going to show you all the cards that I added into this deck build. If you guys want to pause it right now and go ahead and take a quick look at the deck itself on the screen, you can easily do that. And also too, before we go any forward, if you guys can just do me the really big favor right now, please hit that like button. If you're new, consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to also comment down below if you guys agree, disagree, maybe think I missed something. Again, I'm open to all suggestions again when it comes to deck building, because I do think that is one beauty of Altered TCG, is that again there's multiple ways to actually building a deck. There really is no one-stop shop with the meta. If you guys are familiar, we kind of go through the whole deck. Then I'll go show you guys the statistics of the deck itself. Then I'm also going to show you guys 15 cards that I would probably sideboard if maybe you want to manipulate the deck a little bit differently, or maybe you want to sideboard some other cards and stuff like that. Again, if you want to comment anything down below, please do so. I love hearing from you guys. At some point, I will scan a lot of these cards. I've been buying a little bit more booster boxes. I'm going to do more booster box openings here on this channel as well. And hopefully I'll be able to scan a lot of these cards, so this way I can actually take the cards and play on Board Game Arena. And I will be dropping my info for Board Game Arena, so if any of you guys also want to hit me up and play at some point, that'll probably be my thing I do all of the month of December. This way I can prepare for January 2025, and I want to do more gameplay videos, just like similarly I did with Star Wars Unlimited. Unfortunately, if you want to play on Board Game Arena, you have to scan and own all these cards, then build the deck, then take that deck, export it, and then put it into Board Game Arena. So I haven't gotten around to that point because I mean, it's the holidays, I'm very busy, I'm working a lot, and I got 2 kids, so they keep me very busy and keep me on my toes. So, again, let's go ahead and jump right into this deck. We'll take a look at the hero first. This is Lindiwe Maw, hopefully I pronounced that right, and this is a very unique hero. Again, Yasmir does very cool things, and one thing I just absolutely love about Yasmir is just that fact that it uses a lot. Again, one of my favorite colors is green and black in Magic the Gathering, so it's no surprise that Muna and Bravos are some of my favorite colors in Altered TCG, but also too, I really love Yasmir because it really resembles black in Magic the Gathering, where you're just sacrificing creatures to make other things big, to draw cards, to hit your opponent, you know, stuff like that is always very unique. I like doing indirect damage or indirectly beating my opponent without actually just full frontal force attack sometimes. Sometimes it's a little fun to do that. So this deck is definitely like that. This is Lindiwe Maw. The Yasmir here, of course, pretty standard, 2 reserve, 2 landmarks. One day, I'm wondering if we're ever going to get something different too, maybe in the next set. That'll be very interesting to take a look at. It has tap, create a Maw, which is a 0/0/0 companion token in your companion expedition. With when you sacrifice a character, I gain 2 boosts. This action costs 1 more if you are not the first player, so just keep that in mind as well. If you're going first, you're going to get a little bit of reduction. So I do like that. Basically, I think it's basically what it's, I think if I'm reading this correctly, it's basically saying if you're going first, you tap it, you don't have to pay anything to create Maw. But if you're going second, you're going to have to pay at least 1 to play Maw. Comment down below if I'm at least reading that correctly. Now, for the deck itself, this is a Big Maw deck. So basically what this card reads, pretty straightforward, right? We want to get Maw out. We want to sacrifice things to him. We want to get him big. That's basically what we want to get him nice and big, nice and juicy. This way, too, we can pretty much beat our opponent indirectly by just playing out Maw. That's basically what it is. So how do we do that? Well, we got to sacrifice characters. So here's the deck itself right now. Again, you guys can pause it. We will go through each and every card. You guys can see the blue right there resembles the rares. And you guys can see we got a lot of permanent spells and rare characters. So let's go ahead and dive right into the meat and potatoes, starting with the characters of the deck. Starting off, we have Moonlight and Jellyfish. I got 3 copies of the rare version. I do think this is the most important card because it's a 1/1 for a 1/0/1. But the most important thing is this right here. When I'm sacrificed, if I was not fleeting, put me in the reserve. So if it came out of your hand, it doesn't have fleeting, you have to actually put it into your reserve. Also, secondary ability. When I'm sacrificed, if I was fleeting, draw a card. So you're going to get not only a bonus for not having fleeting, but you're going to get that bonus while he does have fleeting. So there's that double-edged sword. He's also cost 1, so he's very cheap. No secret what you want to do with this card, right? get him out, sacrifice the Maw, get Maw big. And you're going to gain at least something on fleeting or not fleeting. If he has fleeting, draw a card. If he does not have fleeting, go to your reserve, pay that 1, get him out again, draw a card. Such a great card to actually have. I definitely think 3 copies of this one is necessary. Next up, we have 3 copies of Yasmir Stargazer. This is the rare version. It's a 2/2. 2s across the board. When I'm sacrificed, you may have target character gain 2 boosts. So sacrificing the Maw, you can click Maw again. He's going to gain 4 boost off of 2 mana right there. So that's a great stat right there to have, right? Really good. If not, maybe you give something else 2 boost. Maybe you boost something else. Again, pretty good card. Definitely think 3 copies is warranted. Next up, we have 3 copies of regular version Baba Yaga. 3/2 for 2/1/2. Play out of your hand, draw a card. Again, you guys have said this so many times. Drawing cards, very powerful in the game of Altered TCG. Next up, we have the Cardragon Alchemist. Hopefully I said that right. Man, I cannot speak lately. 3/1 for a 1/1/1. Play it out of your hand, gains 2 boosts. So for 3 mana, you're going to get a 3/3/3 across the board. But really, it's that 1 reduction out of your reserve cost that we really focus on, because you want to play him out of your reserve, and then you want to just sacrifice him to Maw. Because if you play him out of your reserve, it's just basically you're just getting 1s across the board. But if you sacrifice the Maw at least Maw is going to get 2 out of that. So for 1 mana to sacrifice it, and there's other ways we can also make sure that we have cards that we are going to sacrifice. So I really think 3 copies of that one's pretty good. Next up, 3 copies of the Kuwat the Dissenter. It's a 4/4, 5 across the board, so pretty good stat line. But he also has sacrifice a character in my expedition. So again, if you have, let's say, 6 mana or something like that, or 5 mana, boom. So play Alchemist out of your reserve for 1. Boom, play Kuwat, and hopefully you have Maw out. Sacrifice the Alchemist to Maw, gain all that boost, and now you also have a very powerful big body 4/4 for 5 across the board. And that ability happens both times out of your hand and out of your reserve. Definitely think 3 copies is definitely needed. Next up, we have rare copy of Anubis. Now this is a 5/5 for 3/4/3. Each player sacrifices a character, and again, you can do that both out of your hand and your reserve. So again, we have more ways to sacrifice characters. Definitely need 3 copies of that one. We also have 3 copies of Dorothy Gale for a 5/3 for a 3/2/2. You may send target character to reserve. Again, pseudo removal. Again, Yasmir does that very well as well. Has a lot of characters and a lot of spells for removal. A lot of shenanigans you can do. Again, I think Yasmir is one of the most annoying factions to play against. If everything goes right, then that deck is humming. But there are ways that you can definitely stymie up your opponent. Little more risk versus reward when it comes to Yasmir. Not as much as the other faction. I cannot remember the pink one with all the dice. But yeah, definitely a very good faction. And when the deck is going, man, this deck is definitely humming. And then we also have 2 copies of the Kraken. It's a 7/7 for a 0/0/8. This is your big win condition. He has gigantic. I am considered present in each of your expeditions. When you play out of your hand or out of your reserve, sacrifice 2 characters, so more sacrifice engine. But then it has all regions are water and lose their other types. So pretty much the entire board becomes flooded, basically. Very good card. Definitely a good win condition. One thing I would love to see more too with Altered TCG is each faction having their big win condition and being able to be really used the best way. There's a couple of cards in each faction I'm like, I probably would never use it. Maybe in a pinch I would. Maybe I would sideboard it. This one is definitely one that I'm like, yes, please. This is a really good. You're flooding the board. You're playing a big character. You're sacrificing things. Like, definitely something you need, I think, in your deck. For spells, we have a lot of good spells in this deck, too. We have 3 copies of Gift of Self. This is a 2/2. Sacrifice a character. If you do, draw 2 cards. More drawn cards. Love it. Next up, we also have Spycraft for a 2/2, Sabotage, then Resupply. So discard up to 1 target card from a reserve. Hopefully you're picking your opponent. And then put the top card of your deck in your reserve. Very good there. You can also choose yourself if you want to, but really what you're doing is you're sabotaging your opponent and you're resupplying for yourself. Definitely a good thing to have, especially combos very well with Dorothy Gale, by the way, too. Really like that 1/2 combo. Next up is Off You Go. So again, send to reserve target character with a hand cost of 3 or less for a 2/4. Pretty good. 3 copies of that one. Also pairs really well with Spycraft. So you guys can see a couple of 1/2 combos you guys can easily pull off. And then of course we have Kraken's Wrath. This is a 5/5, 2 copies of this one. Send to reserve up to 3 target characters with a total hand cost of 5 or less. Again, you're flooding the board. I think maybe I have a little bit too much spells, but you guys can comment down below. I think this is actually a good amount of spells. I originally had more spells in here, believe it or not, but then I reduced it by 3. So again, let me know what you guys think. I think that's a good character to spell combo right there. I think that's a good split. We did have 2 different types of permanents. We did go with 2 different rare permanents. First up, we have Baba's Izba. 2/2. Play it out of your hand or out of your reserve. You're going to draw a card. Then tap it to sacrifice a character, and then it also has after you. End your turn as if you had played a card. You may still play cards later this day. This is very similar to the starting hero that you get with the starter decks. Basically, you're pseudo ending your turn, but then you're allowing your opponent to go play all the cards, and you get to continue to play as well. Basically you're just going to counteract your opponent, which is also what Yasmir does. Yasmir, to me, is a very well-oiled machine. The cards in this faction are very, very good. And then for the add a faction rare, we will go with a 3/3 Ordris character at noon. Create a Ordris 1/1/1 soldier token in your companion expedition. 3 copies of that one. And again, the reason why we go with this one, I think this is one of the most important cards that you maybe want to see on your opening hand, is because you do want to create those tokens so you can easily just sacrifice it to Maw right here. If you have that going for you and you're constantly creating at noon a 1 token that you can just sack right over to him all the time, you don't have to sacrifice your stuff, which is a lot better because you're getting that for free. You just have to pay that one-time cost of 3 mana. I do think that's an excellent card to pair with this deck. Let me know what you guys think. That is the deck itself. Again, if you want to pause it so you guys can see it, comment down below if you guys think I missed any other card. I do think this is a pretty well deck. Very excited. I'm missing a lot of cards in here, so I'm very excited to keep opening up booster boxes so I can scan some cards. Do wish the process was a little bit faster though. For the stats of the deck, we have, again, hand cost. We are heavies on the 2s and 3s, which is kind of where you want to be, right in that sweet spot, I call it. If you're heavies on the 4s and 5s, you're going to have a hard time playing some cards. So heavies on the 2s and 3s, a couple of 1s, a couple of 3s and 4s, and then there's that 1/7 being the Kraken. And then, of course, for reserve cost, we are right where we want to be. We are neck and neck with 1s and 2s, 3s, 4s, and even 5s for that matter. So 3, 4, and 5 are all pretty much neck and neck, as well as 1s. But we're heavy on the 2s, which is pretty good for reserve cost. Maybe I would like to reduce it just a little bit more, maybe bump up that 1, because that's really where you want to be with your reserves. You want to be 1s and 2s. Again, of course, 7 being the Kraken's Wrath. For attributes, 51, 45, and 64 on the Ocean. 11 spells, 6 permanents, 23 characters, of course. 0 out of 40 ownership, because again, I just had no time to scan cards. Plus, I'm missing a lot of these. That is the deck itself. That's the stats. Again, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't and you want to, comment down below, maybe you think I missed some things, please comment down below. You guys can see it says not legal just because, again, of cards that I do not own. Now, let's go ahead and shift the focus over to cards that I would potentially sideboard, or maybe you can even call it potentially cards that maybe you would swap out. Let's go ahead and show you guys at least 15 cards that I would sideboard with this deck. All right, for the cards that I would easily sideboard for this deck, we have a couple of cards that I think would go really, really well. A couple of just pretty much generic cards. First up, Lady of the Lake. Again, another card that is pretty much cheap in reduction. It's a 1/1/3 for a 2/2. I also have 2 Alice is another card that I would sideboard for. Maybe if you want to take out the Dorothy Gale, maybe you want to put in either an Alice or a Lady of the Lake. Alice to me is a little bit better for that 1 more extra mana. You get an extra boost in the stats for 2/2/4. You can see to Lady of the Lake, a little bit cheaper reduction. There's also to the Studious Disciple, then maybe another card you maybe want to sideboard. The big card that I did put in here for the sideboard that I definitely would strongly consider, if you took out Alice, maybe go with a Baku for a 4/2, 2/2/2. Target opponent discards a card from their hand. Again, if you're facing someone who's doing a lot of drawing, maybe you're facing a Yasmir opponent yourself, and they're doing a lot of drawing. Again, maybe what you want to do is maybe just put in 3 copies of Baku to make sure that you're constantly reducing stuff from your opponent. Making your opponent discard is something that's not very heavily relied upon in Altered TCG, but it's very cheeky as well. Again, usually your opponent's not going to see that coming, so just thought maybe that would be a good card to sideboard. The 2 rares that we went with for sideboarding, first up we have a spell. It's the Gift of Self. Again, 3/3. Sacrifice a character if you do draw 3 cards. Man, drawing 3 cards, a lot better than drawing 2. So definitely would consider this in the deck as well. And then, of course, the other one is an Add a Faction. This one I really, really considered. This was the card that I originally took out, and I started remanipulating everything. But it is the Add a Faction rare Boom. Sacrifice a character if you do discard target character or permanent. Again, had a really hard time keeping it out of this deck. Eventually I did keep it out, and I said to myself, like, well, if I was going to like a tournament or something like that and they did have like a sideboard, this would definitely be a top consideration for sideboard. Other honorable mentions too would be the Brass Bug Hive. But again, for 5 mana versus the Ordress Carrier for 3/3 versus a 5/5 Brass Bug Hive, I thought the Ordress Carrier, because really all we're trying to do is just get free tokens out there, free 1/1/1 tokens that we can just easily sacrifice right to Maw. But this is why, though, the Boom was originally in my deck. Comment down below if you guys think this card should be in the deck. Let me know what you guys think. So that is going to do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this deck build. Again, if you did, please hit that like button. Comment down below again if you think I missed anything. You think some of those cards in the sideboard should be added to the actual main deck itself. Again, this is pretty much the guy right there. Big Maw deck, right? Get Maw out, sacrifice a lot of creatures, get Maw as big as possible so you can advance in your companion's expedition. The next Yasmir hero we're going to take a look at is going to be Faunus and Senka. It's a heavy spell deck. Pretty much, again, you can read right there. Play spells, boost characters, so it's going to be a heavy spell deck. I'm really excited to build that one next with you guys. So again, we are continue on all the heroes and all the factions, so I have successfully built a deck for every hero. Hopefully at some point I'll get more and more booster boxes so I can be able to scan all the cards that I am missing or scan the cards that I have not yet to scan. And hopefully in January 2025 I'll be able to bring you guys some actual gameplay footage and hopefully be able to actually play with some of you guys that actually watch these videos. I'm really going to look forward to that as well. So again, if you're excited for that, please comment down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you guys next time.